Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the online slips portion of BNI Connect. So today what we're going to do is kind of review how to input your slips online using BNI Connect as opposed to passing in the paper slips at the meeting. What it all means, where it all goes, how it all happens, and also some of the benefits that you'll see as a member for inputting your slips online. We're also going to show how you report it at the meeting during the chapter meetings, because we absolutely do not want to change the chapter meeting at all, even though we won't necessarily be turning in little slips of paper. A couple of housekeeping things before we get going with today's presentation, and that is that the first of all is that this is a live webinar. So that means that if you do have any questions as we're going through anything today, please do feel free to ask those questions. I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. We've set aside about 30 minutes for the content. That being said, if you do have questions, I will stay on these webinars, on these calls, until every single question is answered. So please do ask away. The way to ask a question is to please type your question into the GoToWebinar software here. You'll see a place where you can type those things in. I'll see them pop up on my screen, and I'll be able to answer them right away. A couple of other things. We are recording this presentation. We do record all of our webinars. They are made available to you on the BNI Connect support site. You can get to the support site in one of two ways. Either just go to support.bniconnect.com, or if you see this question up here in the upper right-hand corner, the little question mark icon, if you click that, that will bring you over to the help site, to the support site. On the site, you'll see our list of upcoming webinars, and if you scroll down just a little bit, you will see all of the chapter training and documentation. Basically, everything that you could possibly access as a member in BNI Connect is all documented with step-by-step instructions, and you'll also see the list of recorded webinars. You can click on the month that the webinar took place. For example, these are the webinars that happened in July. And for any of the webinars, you can just click the play button and review the content there. You can also go directly to our YouTube channel. All of these are hosted on YouTube, so go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Here we have a ton of additional material as well. So we have 3 to 5 minute educational moments. We have a number of other things such as upcoming release announcements and new features, as well as all of the webinars for the past year or so. So please do check out our YouTube channel. Again, that's the BNI Connect Global YouTube channel. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. And again, we're going to be talking about the online slips. Traditionally in BNI, before BNI Connect was released, we'd go to our chapter meetings, we'd fill out a little paper slip, and we'd hand them in. And that's great. The purpose of handing in the slips was always to have two purposes. The first was to stand up and celebrate the activity that we had during the week. So we want to absolutely let our chapter members know, hey, yeah, I had a referral for John. I did a one-to-one with Mary. You know, I have some thank you for closed business for Bob. All of these things help to build the excitement in the chapter, and it's the accountability portion of the meeting to let the other members know what we're working on and what we're doing. Now, we've always also filled out a little paper slip and passed that in. Now, the purpose of the paper slip was so that the vice president, or if you're in the UK, that would be the membership coordinator, could collect those pieces of paper. Then they would have to go back to their office and sort them, collate them, and then enter all of the details into the online database. That is a very tedious and time-consuming job. So with the online slips, this allows us to actually insert the slips ourselves into BNI Connect during the week in advance of our chapter meeting. It has the benefit of making your vice president's job a whole lot easier because they don't have to tally those up. They're already in the POMS report for the week. But it gives you the benefit of being able to track your information a lot better. We've always had access to be able to look at our statistics and see all of the numbers of what we've generated, But by putting the slips into BNI Connect, we can now capture all of that data and make it available to you over the years. So as you're going through, you can go back and review all of the things that you've done from week to week, from month to month, and from year to year. So let's take a look at how this works. So what you see here is I've logged into BNI Connect, and this should be the home screen that you see whenever you log into BNI Connect. So we'll see it's broken into a couple of different sections. We have the My BNI Business Report up at the top, and then at the bottom we have a bunch of links to do things. And these are the most common functions here in BNI Connect. The top portion is your BNI participation. So it's your My BNI Business Report, and this shows you your statistics for the last 12 months in BNI, as well as your lifetime. So it'll show you how many referrals you've given, how many referrals you've received, the thank you for closed business, the visitors, the one-to-ones, and the CEUs. This information is all taken from the official PALMS report. So regardless of whether or not you are inputting the slips online or putting in paper, this will still accumulate the figures for you. But doing the online slips, as I said, has an added bonus. So how do we input an online slip? Well, that's here in the bottom portion. So the first four options you'll see say submit a thank you for closed business slip, submit a referral slip, submit a one-to-one slip, or submit a CEU slip. So let's say that I wanted to submit a referral. I would click on the submit referral slip. So if I had a referral for somebody in my chapter, I click this. This should look pretty familiar. It looks just like the paper referral slips that we typically utilize at our chapter meetings. I could just select somebody from my chapter. So let's say I have a referral for Christy Armstrong. Christy is the accountant in our chapter. Let's say that this referral is to Bob Jones. I can then choose whether this is a Tier 1 or a Tier 2 referral, an inside or an outside referral. For those of you that may not know the difference between a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 referral, a Tier 1 referral is an inside referral, meaning that all of the business stayed within the chapter. In other words, I would have referred myself to somebody else in the chapter. So the two people that are doing business are both members of the chapter. Or another way to look at it, the money exchanged stayed within the chapter. I wrote a personal check or a business check out to somebody else in my chapter for their services. Now a Tier 2 referral is when I introduce somebody in my network. Now that could be a family member, a friend, a spouse, a colleague, a coworker, an employee, anybody else that you know that's outside of those chapters, of that chapter, that would be a Tier 2 referral. So this one, because it's not me, this would be a Tier 2 referral. Now I can designate whether or not I gave Bob Christie's card, or if I told Bob that Christie would be calling him, or both. I can put the address details in. The telephone number, and the email address. I can also put any comments that will help Christy along with this referral right away. Maybe what Bob is looking for or what I've spoken to Bob about. So Bob is looking for a new accountant right away. I can then put in whether this is a tepid referral or if this is a really hot referral. I think I'm going to rate this one a 4 on the temperature scale. Now, once I've filled out this information, I can do one of two things. I can click Save and New. That will turn in this slip, and it will bring up a new blank slip right away. I could click Submit, which will just turn in this slip and bring me back to the home screen. Or I can discard this slip by clicking Close. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this slip. Now, one of the great things that happens with the online slips is that we get to put these in right away. So as soon as a referral happens, you can log into BNI Connect and pass a referral slip. Now, this has added benefit over the paper process in that there is a notification that gets sent out as soon as you submit that referral slip. So in this instance, as soon as I click submit, Christy would receive an email saying, you have a new referral, and here's all the information about that referral. Let me show you what one of those looks like. So this is an actual referral notification that I received a while ago. I am a member of a chapter here in the great state of Rhode Island, and this was the notification that I received. I received this one in January. It was a Tier 2 referral. They were told that I would be giving them a call. I can see that I received this one from Joe, who's the printer guy in my chapter. It was rated a 3 on the temperature scale, and it had all the information here of that particular referral and all the comments about that referral. And it even has Joe's information in here. Now, rather than wait for my meeting on Thursday to receive this information, I can get started on the referral right away. So when I receive this on my cell phone, if I get the email on my phone, I can just click right on the phone number. I can start talking to this company. If it had an email address, I could just click on the email address and it would start a new email to that person. If I have any more questions about this, I can just click on the phone number here and call Joe up and get more information. This really helps to speed up the referral process by being able to follow up on these referrals right away. Now, after that referral has closed, we have a question here from Phil. Phil says, please address how an online referral is included in the PALMS report for the chapter. I will definitely cover that after we've gone through all the different slips, if that's okay, Phil. But I'm going to keep your question up there as a reminder. All right, so let's say that referral has now closed. It's turned into closed business. I want to make sure that I'm thanking the person for closed business for a referral that I might have received at one point. So for that, I would want to submit a thank you for closed business slip. For that, I would click on Submit Thank You for Closed Business Slips. And this has all the same fields that a thank you for closed business slip. Usually they're green in most areas. I could, once again, just select somebody from my chapter. So let's say that Matt Wall, he's the Midas car repair person in my chapter. Let's say that he had referred somebody to me that generated business. I can then say that this generated, let's say it was $250 for my business. It was new business. It was an outside referral. And I can type in whatever comments I would like to. So this was for, let's say this was John Smith had a virus on his computer. The comments that you put in will remain private to you and only you. So nobody else in the system can see the comments that you write in here. The VP doesn't see them. Your director consultant doesn't see them. Your executive director doesn't see them. Ivan Meisner does not see those comments. I personally have godlike access to BNI Connect. I cannot see any of the comments that you write on the slips. They're completely private to you. Also, when thank you for closed business is put into the system, it is anonymous. So there's no notifications about thank you for closed business. This will just appear under Matt Wall's PALMS report for $250. Just like with the referrals, you can choose Save and New or Submit or cancel it by hitting Close. I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. One-to-ones can also be recorded in BNI Connect by clicking on Submit One-to-One Slips. Once again, I can choose a member for my chapter if I'd like to. Now, you'll notice here that there's another button to the right. Now, let's say that you do a one-to-one or you have a referral or you have a thank you for closed business for another BNI member that's in your region. We go to these networking events, we go to trainings in our region, and we do get to meet other BNI members in our area. So if you're doing activity with somebody outside of your chapter, we can record that in BNI Connect as well. So let's say that I did a one-to-one with somebody else here in the state of Rhode Island. I can record that here in BNI Connect. In order to do that, I would click on the Search Cross Chapter button. I can then search for somebody that's here in my region. And let's say that I had a one-to-one. It was with Dave Cordero. Now, I can never remember whether he put it in as Dave or David, so I'm just going to put the first couple of letters of his name and the first couple of letters of his last name and click Search. Oh, let me try that one more time here. And let's see, it was Dave England. So I can then choose Dave from the list. And you can see that I had a one-to-one with Dave England. I can put the location that we met. So we met at Starbucks. The topics of conversation. And the date that we met. We met yesterday. Again, I can put Save and New, or I can click Submit. Now with one-to-ones, only one person of the pair does need to put that in. It will appear in both people's PALMS reports. And in this case, because it was a cross-chapter, it will appear in my PALMS report here in my chapter as a one-to-one, and also in David's PALMS report. Holly, if you have a question, I'd love to answer that question for you. All right. While you're typing in your question, I'm just going to quickly review the CEU slips as well. So when we're doing CEUs, or continuing education units, we can submit those in BNI Connect as well. We do that by clicking on Submit CEU Slips. All you need to do is put in the quantity. So after today's webinar, please go into BNI Connect. Make sure you put a quantity of 1 under the line for BNI webinar. And if you've done any other training during the week, BNI SuccessNet also came out this week. If you've read BNI SuccessNet, make sure you give yourself a credit of 1 and click Submit. Oh, Holly's question is a Tier 3 referral the friend of a friend referral? So that goes back to the thank you for closed business slip, and you'll notice that there is an option here for a Tier 3 referral. And yes, you're absolutely correct. That's the friend of a friend. So for example, if I had referred you to my friend John, and that turned into thank you for closed business, you would put in a thank you for closed business for that amount. Now, if John thought you did such a great job that they then referred you to somebody else, that would be the third tier. So it's once removed from the chapter, but it was as a result of that original referral. So does that make sense, Holly? Does that help? Excellent. All right, so as I said, one of the benefits of doing the slips online like this is that you now have a tracking mechanism for all of your slips. When you turn in a piece of paper, so especially the one-to-ones, the CEUs, the thank you for closed business, as soon as you turn that piece of paper in, it then is out of sight, out of mind. You don't see it anymore. With the referral slips, sometimes people save the yellow copies for ourselves, and we have stacks and stacks of rubber-banded copies that are sitting in your desk drawers somewhere. But if you record these in BNI Connect, you will always have a history of them. So, for example, let's say that I wanted to review the thank you for closed business slips that I've turned in. I can do that by clicking on Review My Thank You for Closed Business Slips. I can choose a date range. By default, it's going to show me the last 6 months, but if I'd like to, I can go back in time. I can go back in time to when I started using these and click Go. And now I will see all of the thank you for closed business slips that I've turned in over the years. So if somebody comes to me and say, hey, you know what? Did you ever turn in that thank you for closed business for that referral I gave you? I know it was a couple of months ago, but I didn't follow up with you. Right now, if somebody asks you a question like that, you'd be hard-pressed to remember. I mean, personally, I can't remember what I had for breakfast 2 or 3 days ago, let alone whether or not I turned in a thank you for closed business slip 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago. Now you can go back and review that information. So Frank came to me and he said, did you ever turn that in? I said, oh yeah, you know what? I turned in that slip for Elwood Roberts, and that was on March 27th meeting I turned that in. So you can go back and review it. Now there's something else that's really important about this report. Do you know exactly who your best referral sources are? Do you know who in your chapter is producing the most money for your business? Sometimes that can be a little bit hard to figure out, but if you're doing the Thank You for Closed Business online, you can always click the Thank You To button here. Now I can sort this list alphabetically, and I can see who's giving me the most business. And it can be pretty surprising sometimes. There can be somebody that's giving you a lot of little referrals that aren't turning into a ton of closed business, whereas there could be a couple of people that are giving you a ton of business but very few referrals, or the referrals that keep on giving and giving and giving for years and years. This can help you to analyze that about your membership and really to make sure that you go back and you thank your referral sources for the money that they're generating for you. It's the same with the referrals. So I can review the referral slips that I've passed in, for example. This shows me the last referrals for the last month by default, and I can look at any of these referrals. I can review the information on them, and if there's any referrals that have errors on them, you can also correct them up until the time that the PALMS report has been submitted. So what you'll see here on any of these reports is you'll see that there's a PALMS status over on the right-hand side, and they'll either say completed or they'll say draft. Now, let's say that I made a mistake on this particular referral slip. Maybe I put the wrong address in, or maybe I happened to, if it was a thank you for closed business slip, put in the wrong amount. You'll notice that there's a button on each of these reports at the top that says Edit, Delete Slips. I can click on this button. It'll open up in a new window, and this will show me all of the open slips that are available for me to go in and edit. So let's say that I do need to fix this thank you for closed business that I turned in. I can click on the edit button, and I was mistaken. This wasn't for $250. This was for $500. I can make that correction and click submit. Now, once the PALMS report is submitted by your vice president, these will no longer be available. But up until that point, you can go ahead and edit them. Now, if I go back to review my thank you for closed business, the one that I put in for Matt Wall, you can see that this is now $500 instead of $250. Now, if people are sending you referrals in BNI Connect, you can also look at the referrals that people have given you. So now you have a way to go back and make sure that you're reviewing them, make sure that you're thanking them for closed business. But I can look at my received referrals report. And view all of the referrals that I've received online through BNI Connect. From here, I can also see who's giving me the most referrals by clicking on the referred by. So I can take a look and see who's giving me referrals. You'll notice that there's also a status here. And the status can be listed as new, it can be listed as pending, or as closed. There's also for when you did a follow-up, when you contacted them. All of this can be tracked in BNI Connect if you would like to as well. Now we do that by clicking on the Track Your Referrals Received. So I can, once again, I can choose a date range. And this is the test system, so I haven't received, the data is a little bit old. So let me go back a little bit further here. see if I can find one. So here's some referrals that I had received in BNI Connect. Now, if I'd like to track the status, let's say I'd like to track the status of the Barlow Rehab referral that I received. I can click Edit. I can fill out any additional email if I'd like to. Most importantly, I can mark down when did I contact them, when did I meet with them, and when did I follow up with them. I can change the status from new to pending to closed, or if it was a no sale. I can also readjust the temperature if I need to, and click Submit. I'm going to click back on the Home button. The great thing about that is that the status is a two-way conversation. If I go back to review my referral slips, you'll see that there is a tracking sheet status. So if any of these people that I give referrals to, for example, if Christy receives that referral in BNI Connect and then updates her tracking status, I can then see that this referral became closed or if it's pending. It's a way to help with the follow-up process. So now one question I always get asked is, what about the meeting? Now we get to the meeting, we've already turned in all our slips. Why do we even bother having a meeting anymore? Well, we absolutely do want to continue to have meetings. It's our time to get together face-to-face. We still need to do our weekly presentations. And most importantly, we absolutely want to celebrate the activity that we did for the week. The only difference is we don't necessarily have to turn in a piece of paper. But if you'd like to turn in paper, for example, for the door prize, if you'd like to be chosen for the door prize that week, you do need to drop a little referral slip into the basket. You can do that by clicking on the Print Your Weekly Slips. So if I do this and click Go, this will show me all of my activity for the week, and I can click Print and print this out. Now what you'll notice is that the referral slip prints in a nice big box here. That's approximately the same shape and size as a regular referral slip. So you can cut this out with a pair of scissors and drop that into the basket to be included for the door prize, and the vice president can also use this for a referral reality check later on. The rest of the information that's here, you'll notice that it's listed, but it's not listed in a slip format. And again, the reason for the slips originally was so the VP could count them and put them into the POMS report. But since that's already been done, all we need to do is have it organized for us in order to make the announcement at the meeting. So I could turn in my referral slip to Christy. I could stand up and say, yes, I had thank you for closed business for Matt Wall for 500. I had a one-to-one with David England. I have 2 CEUs this week, and I brought a visitor. All right, so now, what about the VP? So Phil, you asked the question before, what does this look like for the vice presidents? So as a vice president, what I would be doing when I go to enter my POMS report for the week, I would click on Operations Chapter. I would then go to Meeting Management, and I would go to Enter POMS. So this meeting week is actually September 10th. Wrong chapter. Let me get over to my Wakefield chapter here. And it's the meeting week of the 11th here. And I would click on Enter POMS. And what you'll see is that for each of the online slips I entered that week, all of the information is already here. So the referral that I gave to Christy Armstrong, she has 1 for a referral received. For Matthew Wall, here's his $500 and thank you for closed business. And for myself, I had the referral given, the one-to-one, and the 2 CEUs. Now, as a means to be able to audit that and to make sure that duplicate slips aren't being entered, there is a button up here that says Slips Audit Report. And you will notice here that it has my name listed, the activity, the slip type, and who it went to, so on and so forth. In the case of a cross-chapter activity, you can see in the detail which chapter it was performed with. So does that answer your question, Phil? Now, with only a little bit of information in here, with only one person doing activity, it doesn't seem that impressive, but let's say that you have a big chapter now. My chapter, I'm switching over to the live system here. My chapter happens to have about 50 members in it. We hover between 49 and 51 members over the past month or two. With most of our chapter doing online slips, this makes a big difference to the vice president. So let's say that we have our meeting from this past week. You can see that there's already a ton of activity here in the PALMS report already, that much less activity that I need to enter. And here we can review all of the slips that were entered in that particular week. So we have a question from Julie. Julie says, can you cross-refer in different cities? You can cross-refer in different cities. The limitation right now is that you can only refer to other people that are in your region, your BNI region. As you know, BNI is broken up into different areas around the world. It's not necessarily the whole state. Sometimes it's part of the state. Sometimes it's the whole state. In my particular case, my region happens to be the entire state of Rhode Island. However, in places, especially bigger states like California, it might just be one general area like the San Francisco West area. The reason for this right now is that it's a bit of a learning curve. That seems to be the reason why. When BNI Connect first came out with the online slips, it took a while for it to be adopted. So some countries didn't turn it on right away, and then once they turned it on, the cross-chapter activity isn't necessarily turned on in all places around the world. So what we're waiting for is for all the regions, all of the countries and cities and states to be trained on it so that they understand what the cross-chapter activity is and enable it in their areas, and then we'll be able to do a search worldwide, hopefully, for anybody in BNI around the world. So that is the ultimate goal on that, even though it's limited only to your region right now. So does that answer your question, Julie? So Julie then says, my chapter doesn't use it. How do I encourage it? The way that I would encourage it personally is, number one, it gives you some added benefits to your membership. Again, being able to track this information for yourself makes you a better networker. Just the fact that, for example, one thing I didn't quite point out today was if I was to review my one-to-one slips, one thing that people have always asked for is, well, what about a one-to-one planner? This essentially is a one-to-one planner. I can go back, I can review who I have had one-to-ones with and who I still need to meet with, or who I need to meet with more often, especially if they're in my contact sphere. The second reason is, again, for the amount of time that it saves your vice president. And that'll allow your chapter to become stronger because the vice president has a lot of responsibilities in the chapter. That will allow them to concentrate on a lot of the other things that the vice president needs to get done. So does that help a little bit, Julie? Phil says, so members who enter a slip online should not turn in a normal slip at the meeting since it's already in the PALMS. And yes, that is absolutely correct. When you enter the slips online, you do not need to turn in a physical paper slip in the meeting. Now, for those people that, let's say I have a referral and I didn't print out my weekly slips, if I want to be, if I don't care about the door prize, then it's not a big deal. But if I'd like to be included for the door prize and I didn't print out the report, what I would say to do is to just go ahead, fill out a regular slip, but put an X through it. so that the vice president knows this was already entered online. That way they don't double count it. They should be able to see that anyway because it's already in the POMS report and it's also in that slips audit report, but it makes it a lot easier if you put an X through the paper form. Does that answer your question, Phil? All right, Steve says, how come there's no name with the thank you for closed business? So the thank you for closed business, as I said, that when we're looking at the slips audit report, it is anonymous. The reason that it's anonymous is so that it is, they can't trace back the actual referral with the amount of money given. That's really important for a lot of professions such as lawyers, doctors, psychiatrists, anybody that has any of those privacy concerns in their profession. It does remain anonymous to allow them to participate in this as well. One other benefit, by the way, is that if you submit your thank you for closed business online through BNI Connect, you'll notice that there is something up here in the My BNI Business report called Revenue Received to My Business. Now, that's a number that we've never really tracked. We've always tracked the revenue given, but not necessarily the revenue received. The reason for that is because it's all about giver's gain. And in the POMS report, we still only track the amount of money that you've generated. But when you submit your thank you for closed business slips, we'll tally that for you right here in your My BNI Business, and you'll start to be able to see how much money you've made in BNI as well. But again, this number is only available by turning in the slips. One final note is that because these numbers at the top here are based on the POMS report itself, these numbers will only change after the VP submits the weekly report. So you can submit the slip. These numbers up here won't change until after your weekly chapter meeting, after the VP has officially submitted the POMS report. All right. What other questions do we have? I know we are past the bottom of the hour, but as promised, I am always happy to stay on the call as long as people have questions. So fire away. What additional questions do you have? Phil says, thank you. Since I'm the incoming VP, this is very helpful and timely. Julie says she has an off-topic question. I'm happy to answer any question about BNI Connect that you have. I'm happy that you're here, and it may be off-topic, but I'd be happy to answer it anyway. While you're thinking up any last-minute questions or typing them in, I do want to remind you that this is being recorded. It will be made available on the YouTube site as well as on the support site. Again, you can get to the support site by clicking on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, or to get to the YouTube site, go to YouTube/BNI Connect Global, and you will see those listed up there shortly. In the meantime, you're welcome to review the ones from previous months. I'd also love it if you gave us a like, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We do release announcements, we do webinar reminders, we do tips and tricks, all sorts of things. I would, again, love it if you gave us a like up there on our Facebook channel as well. And finally, if you found today's session helpful, both in the information and in the format, a great referral for me is to please refer your members to these webinars. So the other members that are in your chapter, we would love it if you would refer them to these webinars. Our very next webinar is going to be on connections, groups, and testimonials. So we're going to show you how to go deeper into BNI Connect, how to go find other people in BNI Connect, how to connect with them, how to send them messages, how to give them a testimonial. All of that stuff is going to be on this coming Wednesday, September 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, so an hour earlier than now. All right. Okay, a couple more questions have come in. Catherine says, what do you do if your thank you for closed business amounts have not been entered before? I checked my report and there are no amounts there. So are you talking about in your personal report here, or you have no thank you for closed business at all? If you were handing in paper slips earlier, then all of the review my slips would be empty. So what I would say is that you should just start from today and start entering them in now. As long as you were turning in paper slips before, if you end up putting in now online slips, they're going to be duplicated numbers in the POMS report. So I would just pick a time and get started and put them in from now on. Does that make sense, Catherine? So Holly says, I was away from my meeting. Can I add them this week, or will that cause headaches for my VP? So you can turn in these slips anytime you want to. So basically, it's like putting, I don't know if your chapter does this or not, but a lot of chapters, what they do is they pass around a bowl or they pass around a hat or something as you're going around the room to collect the slips, the paper slips. What BNI Connect is doing is there's basically a bowl sitting out there for the vice president for the entire week that collects all of the slips between chapter meetings. So you can put them in any time, even if you end up not showing up or you're sick or you're unable to make the meeting that week, or you send a substitute, all of your slips will still be counted for that week's meeting. If you missed the meeting last week, as long as you didn't send paper slips with your substitute, just go ahead and add them in and they'll be tallied up for this week's meeting. So it's really no different than the paper process if you were to miss a meeting. Does that help, Holly? All right, so Julie says, we had a person who lost her job and had to leave the group, but was looking in her industry for her same category. She could have continued to give. Why did she need to leave? So that is more of a direct policy question. I would direct that one to your director consultant or your executive director. I can talk all day long, every day about the technical aspects of BNI Connect, but when it comes to some of the policy-related things, please, I would say go to your executive director, your director consultant, and they'll be able to get into a better discussion about that with you. So sorry if I'm sidestepping that one, Julie. Catherine said, are these webinars available to view at a future time? Absolutely. Just go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, or again, go to the support site. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see recorded webinars. They're broken out by month. The topics are generally the same from month to month, although like today, we've had a ton of questions, and I love it. Today's webinar, once it's put up on YouTube, will have more questions than some of the other webinars. So yes, you'll absolutely be able to review them. You can then share those with the other chapter members, whatever you'd like to do. So hopefully that helps, Catherine. All right, let's see. Catherine has another question. It says, what about the visual accountability of turning in slips at the chapter meeting? How does this system affect that? Well, again, the accountability is you are still turning in that piece of paper for a referral slip, especially if you want to be included for the door prize. Now, as far as the other accountability, one of the things that I've heard and that I actually believe is that there's even more accountability now than there would be if with just the paper. One of the reasons for that is that email that goes out. So the email that happens, especially with a cross-chapter referral, I'm not going to put my reputation on the line passing a bogus referral because I know that the other person is going to get the notification and all the information. The visual accountability at the meeting, let's say that I just dropped the paper into the basket and the vice president then goes ahead and counts that one, but I never gave the other copy to the other person. They didn't even know they received it. I mean, there's still the referral reality check, and even if you don't turn in a piece of paper for it, there is the slips audit report that the vice president can use for a referral reality check as well. So arguably, there's as much, if not more, accountability with the online slips process than with the paper process. Does that make sense, Catherine? All right. Do we have any other questions? Any other questions at all about anything? I would be happy to answer those at this time. Holly says, thanks for a great session. I will be sure to refer my fellow chapter members as a great resource. Wishing you good business. Thank you so much, Holly, and thank you everyone else. And again, yes, please do refer these webinars to your other chapter members. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Happy connecting, everyone.